Nuclear attack on U.S. or allies would end Kim regime, says Defense Secretary.
Here's a summary of the article.
The U.S. Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin, said on Thursday any nuclear attack on the U.S. or its allies by North Korea would result in the end of the Kim regime. According to a joint communiqué released by the U.S. Department of Defense, during his meeting with the South Korean Defense Minister, Lee Jong-sup, Austin said, "Any nuclear attack against the United States or its allies and partners, including the use of non-strategic nuclear weapons, is unacceptable and will result in the end of the Kim regime." Similar language was included in the U.S. National Defense Strategy, which was released last week. That document said, in part, "Our strategy for North Korea recognizes the threat posed by its nuclear, chemical, missile and conventional capabilities, and in particular the need to make clear to the Kim regime the dire consequences should it use nuclear weapons. There is no scenario in which the Kim regime could employ nuclear weapons and survive." Austin, a retired U.S. Army general and the first African-American Secretary of Defense, spoke to reporters at the Pentagon alongside Lee. "Our extended deterrence commitment is firm and includes a full range of our nuclear and conventional and missile defense capabilities." Trump, whose cavalier treatment of matters of nuclear policy has been extensively reported, met repeatedly with Kim, staging high-profile summits that produced little tangible benefit.
This post received a score of 14,000, with an upvote ratio of 95%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Is this typical for such matters to be explicitly stated? I was under the assumption that the wiping of Kim and his palace of shit off the face of the earth was always implied if NK was ever to use nukes.
No, the US usually dances around the point. However, the Biden administration seems to have decided the nuclear blackmail shtick needs to stop. I guess the strategy is to pull the rug. A lot of this bombast only works as long as the US remains quiet. If it starts saying what everyone knows but doesn't think about, the weakness of the other side is clear.
The Biden administration seems to have decided the nuclear blackmail shtick needs to stop. This is part of the report they publish every few years. They outline hostile or possibly hostile nuclear rivals' capabilities and explicitly state that U.S. policy is to deter anyone from thinking a nuclear attack would help them achieve their goals. It is a very dry yet terrifying publicly available document.
I can't imagine the scenario where the U.S. would strike first with nukes. I cannot grasp any situation where that would occur. We can have entire Ranger battalions anywhere in the world in 18 hours. And the places of the world where shit may go down. We are already there.
Not first strike with nukes, but use conventional methods to either destroy nuclear capabilities or hurt to a point where the enemy realizes that any more provocation and the US would absolutely end them.
While this is more likely a scenario, in the document mentioned the term first strike is absolutely a nuclear first strike. It is our policy to make sure our enemies know that absolutely nothing is off the table if they decide they want to try to step out of line. The US does genuinely have a nuclear first strike policy, and while the likelihood of it ever being invoked again is exceptionally low, it has never once been taken off the table.
My knowledge comes mostly from reading Tom Clancy, but I think the most likely scenario in which the US would launch a nuclear first strike would be when the US government was certain that another nuclear power was about to launch their own nuclear strike, and thus the US first strike would be launched with the aim of destroying that other country's nuclear arsenal to reduce the amount of nukes it could launch to a minimum. If you have intelligence that confirms with 100% certainty that another country, say, NK, is about to start a nuclear war anyway, then there's nothing to lose by launching a first strike. Of course, the critical point is whether or not you can trust the intelligence and how certain you are.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.